Spastic paraplegia is a rare disorder. There are only a few people affected, and we have to find ways to bring these patients together, to meet, make connections, to educate themselves, get educated, raise resources really to advance science and finding cures. I would say that HSP has been with humankind for thousands of years, and until very recently we had not even an idea where it's coming from, and just in the last 20 years we have made extreme progress in understanding the real causes of this disorder, and now we are seeing the beginnings of therapies coming up, especially gene therapies, but all the other therapies that are very promising. So we have to be patient, but we have to also be impatient and keep pushing and raise more resources and awareness. Science and medicine has advanced to a point where we can make fast progress now, given the right resources. Of course, there are many technical hurdles to develop a safe therapy and a therapy that actually works. But I'm generally an optimist, and we have to just believe that it's going to be better for our children. 5 years ago, I would have been much more pessimistic in regards to a cure. Today, I'm quite optimistic. I think we will see cures. We may not see cures for every type of spastic paraplegias very soon, but I'm very convinced today that we will see substantial improvements for patients. Time will tell. It's time for a cure. It's never been better. There have never been more people working really on solving this problem. It may be that we will see the first cures, the first breakthroughs come for children especially, and young people. Possibly older patients will not see so much benefit from these therapies. But we have to just think forward and remind ourselves that this is a disease, a genetic disease that is giving through the generations, and many HSP patients, they know that their parents had it, their grandparents, and they think, I'm sure they think about their children, their grandchildren, and for them it will probably be much better.
There's been remarkable scientific breakthroughs that I think make a cure within sight. We can find a cure with more funding and more research, specifically on genetics and new technology to tackle the disease. We've been doing research on this disease for a while, and now finally we are having some results. So it's important to communicate the results so that people understand that with just a little bit more funding, we can really take it to the next level. There's so much power in numbers, and it's critical for people with PLS and HSP to come together to show the community of researchers and industry that it's worth it to make an investment to really change the disease. There's a lot of research on genetics, biomarkers, and imaging that can really tell us more about the disease and find new ways to treat it. So I think we need to make more investment in these areas so that we can really take it to the next step. Well, these diseases are very challenging. They're sort of mysterious because we don't know exactly what causes them and why they can be so different and variable from person to person. So these diseases are a great challenge, and I think that many researchers are really attracted to challenges and really want to make a change.
I think we're at a real turning point for not only HSP and PLS, but other motor neuron diseases. And we're at a time where the community really needs to come together and consolidate our resources so we can make the advances in the infrastructure. These are the tools we're going to use to test new therapeutics. They can be drugs, but they could be exercise, supplements, or other things to help people with these disorders. And I think it's vitally important that we all understand where we're at, what these tools are, and everybody needs to have a voice in what we're doing and what we're creating, and in the drugs and the therapeutic approaches that we'll be having moving forward. So I work for a group called CREATE. We're a very large international consortium of researchers. We're funded by the NIH through a mechanism they call the Rare Disease Clinical Research Network. Our project's been going on for the last 5 years, and I think that you could say there's a real sea change that I've seen in just the awareness of this disorders and what's happening. You can see this in the numbers of people that we've had that become involved in our studies. They've been ramping up quite dramatically in the last few years. But I think things like the Ice Bucket Challenge for ALS and some of the other initiatives that the advocacy groups have been doing in the last few years are really raising the awareness that we have a problem here, and that we have these sophisticated modern scientific tools and approaches, and that we really need to now turn these resources to address these disorders so we can help people and hopefully improve quality of life, but ultimately make an impact in these diseases and in treatments and cures.
I'm working on ALS for over 40 years, and more recently I'm really interested in PLS. I believe PLS has a key to understand ALS, but also, same time, a patient with the PLS suffers from progressive, relentless, severe motor dysfunction. Although survival is not an issue, yet at the same time, you can say this disease causes unlimited time, lifetime impairment of motor dysfunction. So in ways much more difficult than ALS, I must say. So we needed to understand this disease better, and also we have to have a good treatment. I'm fortunate to be funded by SPF for past 6 to 8 years. We did a number of studies, and SPF changed attitude of PLS from just a few retrospective studies to now prospective studies looking at the neuroimaging, looking at cognitive impairment, and also, like me, looking at the multiple sites working together to look at the biomarkers, look at genetic changes, diagnostic accuracies, and see better biomarkers to develop clinical trials. My main task for the past year to develop the PLS-FRS. PLS-FRS is a disease-specific scale because ALS-FRS-R, which is a standard scale for ALS, is too insensitive if you use for PLS, because PLS disease moves very slow. So if you apply ALS-FRS-R, you don't see much change, or even over 2 years. So we need a disease-specific scale. That's what we developed. Indeed, now we proved that this scale is good at the baseline. Now, even 24 weeks change over time, we showed a significant change occurs if you use this scale. So we are almost ready to do clinical trials. We have to test medication patient with PLS. The reason is PLS is such a, we think, much focused disease. Disease is more focused, more likely that you can develop better medications. So we can try edaravone, we can try dexpramipexole, which has been used for ALS, and edaravone has been approved for the use of ALS, but that medication may slow down, may delay onset of lower motor neuron disease. That's what we have been working. I think we have to disseminate this important information to everyone, and this is a disease, such a neglected and mysterious disease. We have to pay attention. Study more PLS will understand much more clearly other motor neuron disease as well. But we have a patient with this disease. We have to do something about it. I'm working on it, and I think its future is here. We are ready to study. So help us our studies. We work together as a team to develop a better medication.
As a person that isn't a clinician, I'm a self-proclaimed lab geek. I work in the lab and I don't have a connection with patients. And this conference has given me a connection to patients that I never could have appreciated before I've experienced this over the last decade, and I've appreciated every conference. There's hope for the disease, and we don't want to hype with research that may not come to fruition, and there's going to be challenges and there's going to be obstacles, but this area of therapeutics is on fire. It's fueled by the basic research that we have funded and that our medical professionals and research professionals have invested so much time in, and that patients have given of themselves, of their cells, and so much of their time and their fundraising efforts. This is working, it's on fire, it's going to take some time, but it's working. What's next for me is to keep pushing and try to inspire drug companies and our researchers to mix and to really have therapies that can hopefully move into the clinic. It's time for a cure. There's cures that we're seeing visibly make progress in other areas, and we're going to be able to ride on those coattails, and we're going to be able to leverage what they've built and make it even better.